Good evening, everyone. I welcome you to this May ordinary meeting of the Oberon Council. The meeting will be live streamed via Teams webinar facilities. Recordings of council meetings or parts thereof cannot be copied, recorded, reproduced, reused, or transmitted without the prior written consent of the General Manager. The meeting is being recorded and will be made publicly available on Council's website. Persons attending the meeting should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Gundagara, Wurundjeri and Darug people and respects the history and cultural elders both past and present. Ask to stand for prayer. Anyone wishing to absent the chambers during the prayer is welcome to do so. No apology or affront to declare an interest is required during this period of the meeting. Thank you, Johnny. Lead us in prayer.
Thanks for the privilege of doing it. Let me pray. Our loving Father, we thank you for our town's elected and appointed leaders and for their commitment to serving the people of Oberon. We ask that your blessing on their time together this evening, your blessing on all aspects of this meeting. Might their conversation and decisions be filled with patience, respect and humility as they seek to govern our town for its thriving and the greater benefit of the many people who call Oberon home. We thank you for the beauty and relative peace of Oberon. Might the decisions made here tonight be made to preserve what we have. Thank you for the blessing of rain, the recent rain we've had, and ask that you continue to provide more for those who depend on it for their living. We commit the wider governance of our country and our world into your hands as well, and ask that you bring peace where there's conflict, love where there's hate, and other person-centeredness where there's rules. I ask that we would all look to the example of your Son, our Lord Jesus, as we seek to love as he does. Lord, bless all those who meet here tonight, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Johnny.
Thank you, friends.
Could you ask Betty and the just a reminder, everyone, to put your phones on silent or record of attendance. I note that all councillors are present for this meeting and there are no leaves of absence. Are there any declarations of interest? Note that there are no declarations of interest. Item 6 is confirmation of minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 21st of April 2026 be confirmed. Have a motion, please. Councillor Hayden, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Hayden.
Nothing to add.
Motion as per the recommendation.
Yes.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. With regard to the meetings, the meeting of the Western Forestry Hub, maybe if you give us a brief update whether that.
I'll do that probably when we get to the mayoral minute. We're doing confirmation of minutes.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Thank you. Any other issues? I move the motion. All in favour? 6.2 is the extraordinary meeting of the 4th of May 2026. The recommendation is that the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 4th of May 2026 be confirmed. Have a motion, please. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Alevras. Thank you. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the minutes, but there needs to be some alterations in 4.1 and 4.2 as Councillor McCarthy and Clr Trembath were absent with leave, and I also voted in favour of 4.3. Page 43, 44 and 45.
We'll have a look at those. Yes, absolutely. Councillor Evans.
I have the same.
No problem. Okay. Councillor Graham.
Also, attendance. We accepted the leave of absence for Councillor Trembath and Councillor McCarthy, and they voted for it,
That's good.
which is tricky
Yes,
because they weren't here.
they weren't here. Absolutely.
Spirit.
Yes, I think there has to be some amendments to the relation.
4.1, 4.2, 4.3.
Subject to those changes, I put the motion. All in favour? Carried unanimously. You go to item 7, mayoral minute. The recommendation of report 7.1 is receives information. I move the motion. The second, please. Councillor O'Connor. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions in relation to that. If you have a question, I think.
Let's Mr. Mayor. get the right this time. So with regard to meetings, the meeting with forestry, just a brief update, whether their fire management, risk assessment study has been updated for renewable energy.
They're moving ahead with it. I think I've just had an email as of today to speak to the people who are doing the study.
They are.
So it's moving ahead. There are two, and I haven't got an exact timetable. One is the fire study. That's being done separately. And the second one is a study on the effects the renewable construction period would have on the forestry industry, transport traffic. So that's a second study, but they're both being done.
Quite significant. And just the last one is
I think the fire study is being done first because we still don't have a delineated transport route. So they need a delineated transport route. That they're doing some general stuff in the first one, but until there's a delineated transport route, it's a bit hard to know the complete effect it will have.
thank you. And secondly, with correspondence, I note there was a flurry of emails to and from TAG and Forestry Corp responding to a letter from Pines on the 30th of April. This letter from Pines basically took my breath away. New South Wales government, particularly in regard to the New South Wales government benefit sharing guidelines, which state they should be collaborative between council and the developer, and the benefits should be designed in partnership with council. Councillors would have a copy of my letter challenging the analysis provided by Pines. And with regard to the current inequality of Forestry Corporation non-payment of rates and the potential that Pines will not pay rates, could the Mayor shed further light on this important development?
So in relation to rates, the situation at the moment is we received a letter from Pines, which is noted in the Mayoral Minute. We then received a letter from Forestry Corporation, which basically said that the proponents would be paying rates, and council would have then seen that I sent an email to Forestry Corporation to seek some additional detail, which I haven't received back yet, which is fine. You've said this. Have you got confirmation from the Pines they agree with your updated assessment? How are you going to delineate the area for which these, to which this permit's applied? You would have seen all of that. So I've asked all those questions. I'm still waiting a response. I will follow it up. And I think it's only proper that, we get an email that there is written confirmation from the Pines or not as to whether they agree with the forestry position.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not a solicitor like yourself, and I was somewhat confused, but also just in the way they approached both parties. There seems to be at different poles at the moment. But I do thank you for your work with it, because it has opened up what's a very important area for us to explore. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it also will assist when we go forward with the notice of motion that was passed at the last meeting, in that we may get greater details from Forestry Corporation, which may help us to crystallise the position in relation to the delineation of land within forests. Obviously, in the private land area, that's a different area that we are working in particular with Blaney to see what's happening there.
Yeah.
Any others? Councillor Hayden.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Page 50 of 284 or 10 of 92, 14th of May, meeting with Tara Moriarty at board panels. Could you elaborate any further in relation to that meeting?
Absolutely. I would have seen I did a Village Voice article this week that summarised that. Oh, okay. Well, in future I might send them. So the situation was Minister Moriarty was invited by the Forestry Hub to Oberon to meet with representatives, and there was Forestry Corporation, there was Borg, and there was AKD, and James Jewish from the Central West Forestry Hub basically chaired the meeting with the Minister, and I represented Oberon Council as the Mayor. It was a very good meeting in that the forestry industry representatives indicated to the Minister, who is the Minister for Forestry and Agriculture, part of her portfolio, the difficulties they were having with the Great Western Highway closure in particular, the increased time to get to Sydney of 1 to 1.5 hours, whichever way they went through going to Hartley and then going back to Lithgow or going to Kelso and down that way. Because obviously the Sodwells Road is not suitable for trucks of that ilk. And explaining that in particular Borg was costing them an extra $200,000 a week. They were having trouble getting extra drivers and extra trucks to take up the leeway where, as they could only do one delivery per driver to Sydney rather than 2 a day. That was explained in great detail. Also, we raised the issue of the potential 70 trucks that already had to be towed up or down Scenic Hill, and there had been several accidents, and indicated the minister where everyone was concerned about what happened in winter if there were icy conditions on that road. The minister took all this to note. The issue of, Borg in particular, the number of trucks it had on the road was of concern, and again reiterated the position in relation to the Taranah Oberon rail link to take a lot of those trucks off the road. I, as well as that, raised the minister and informed her of what I said to Minister Atchison some weeks before in relation to also the effects on our tourism and other related businesses in town. And the minister has taken it away and she's going to reiterate the particular concerns that Oberon has and the effects it has on us in that, perception-wise, or other people have to travel backwards to get to Oberon, and the specific effect it's got on our forestry and haulage industries. So I also raised the issue, which I know the general manager has also been raising with the task force, about the fact that some councils were granted $15,000 towards promoting their tourism as a result of it, but we didn't receive anything. So that was raised again, and I raised that with Minister Atchison some 3 or 4 weeks ago. But the minister took it all on, and the meeting was very respectful and run in an excellent way.
Okay, and thank you for that. I'll go and have a look when I go home at the media list. Also, the 23rd of April, under correspondence, I'd like to see a Director of Engagement, Science in Public promoting National Science Week. Will anyone be forwarding any information on to the Oberon Citizen Science Group to get involved with that as well?
I don't know. I don't believe we've sent it on that, but we will send on. We'll make a note of that. Yeah, we've certainly thank you for raising that, Councillor Hayden.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any other questions? Quite happy to. All right, I put the motion all in favour. Carried unanimously. We go to item 8, notice motion 8.1 is prescribed traffic control devices. Motion is that the decisions relating to the implementation or alteration of prescribed traffic control devices be referred to the elected council for resolution. Councillor Tucker. As is.
If I can add a couple of words after the word devices, to add the words which have a regulatory effect. So it's just to additional clarity that it's not every single sign around the place. It's only things which impact on stuff that you have to do or must not do.
You have a seconder? So, Hayden. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some of my reasoning is provided in the comments, so I'm not going to read through that in detail, but it is a very simple, very limited motion. Most prescribed traffic control devices already are required to go to the local transport forum and then to come to council for a resolution. The one exception to that is parking. I can't think of anything other than parking restrictions where this is going to apply. And so it is simply saying that if they don't go to the local transport forum, that we still want them to come to council for a decision. So it is things like changing time limits or no stopping zones or changing parallel to angle parking or those lines. I believe council is the right place for that to happen. Now, those cases are very, very rare, maybe only one every couple of years or few years. They are not urgent things. They are highly unlikely to be safety related things. Safety is on moving traffic. You're putting in a stop sign or a roundabout. They are things that impact on traffic safety. These are purely for public amenity. And I think the elected council is the right place for those decisions to be made. They are not, we would certainly listen to technical advice, but most of the decision making is not going to be on the technical aspect. It is going to be on competing factors. Somebody might want time limits, somebody else might not. And it is council that should be making that decision, and council that should be wearing any complaints or problems that arise as a result of that. And part of the reason I've been pushing this is because we did have exactly this situation previously. Some parking arrangements were changed by staff without going for traffic committee approval, without coming to council for approval, and without complying with the normal standards. And as a result of that, this council was threatened to have its delegation removed, and it ended up costing this council around about $25,000 to modify in order to comply. So that's the sort of thing that can happen if we don't follow correct processes. So it is a very small, simple motion, and on those rare cases that it's going to happen or affect the processes, I think it is important that this council should be able to have a say. So, thank you.
Yes, Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to support Councillor Tucker's motion and the addition of that word regulatory. Accordingly, this motion is simply intended to maintain council's governance oversight of the regulatory decisions requiring the exercise of council's delegated authority. Thank you.
Yep. Councillor McCarthy.
Yes, I'll support the recommendation from Councillor Tucker. We've seen over there on the Albion Street where we've had B-doubles parked there for weeks on weeks and no prime mover there, and they're just using the storage. So we know that's going on. It's brought to us as a safety issue by different people turning in and out of sites over there. Yet we've got to be able to say, all right, we should be pursuing a no standing sign or a 2-hour restriction. It's up to us. We're the locals.
Councillor Rivers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'll support it as well because I just think simply it's about making sure the right decision maker is exercising the power. If it's not being properly sub-delegated, we're a council. So for me, it's fairly straightforward.
I might just ask the Technical Services Director, from your position, is this going to restrict your flexibility to be able to act quickly without having this delegation to do?
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is in fact one of my concerns. As Councillor Tucker highlighted, and I have responded to that effect to Councillor Tucker earlier today. As Councillor Tucker highlighted, in our LGO, we don't regularly implement any type of traffic sign, traffic control device, or prescribed traffic control devices because we don't do it a lot. If we do need to do it, it normally is due to a safety matter, as was raised before, near the BP petrol station, when there was a sight distance concern and it was impacting moving traffic that trucks were parking there. So we wanted to put a 50-minute parking restriction and a now stopping sign there, which then went through the LDC at the time and was delayed because different matters I'm not going into now. However, if we have to delay to have to bring it to the elected council for decision, that potentially delays implementation of those things if that delegation is removed from the general manager and from council staff to do that quickly. So that is my concern. If that's removed, then it will prevent staff from doing something. And from my understanding, that can impact safety. And the signs concern would be, for example, parking restrictions, no stopping, or including a warning sign like a stop sign that also was previously installed when it was an issue. Yeah, that can answer to your question. That one.
General Webb, you've got anything else to say?
Through the chair, just it's a matter of staff being able to look at these things quickly, and equally, if staff were to do that, they've got an obligation to then report it to a traffic forum in the upcoming months. I think it's within 3 months of that occurring. So council will still get the opportunity, and they can ask questions as to why staff took that initiative to go down that path. So there are mechanisms. But in talking to Transport for New South Wales, the whole reason they implemented the traffic forum to start with, beyond a local traffic committee, was to do, in fact, or to cover these things that the director has talked about. At the end of the day, it's a decision for council whether they want to delegate that function, which is that I then sub-delegate to the engineering professionals to do.
Good. Mr. Trembath?
I'd like to speak against the motion. I understand the intent, behind ensuring oversight, requiring decisions relating to prescribed traffic control devices such as parking to come back to council would significantly slow down operational efficiency. And I think the director provided that in her note to us. In a timely manner based on professional advice, safety standards and traffic expertise. That's why we employ qualified staff. And bringing every minor change or adjustment to the elected council risks creating delays, increased workload, and potentially impacting community safety where prompt action is required. There would be unintended consequences of councillors making decisions without the expertise and ignoring the expertise of our technical services team. And that's why I can't support the motion at all.
Yeah. I think I should speak. I'm confused again, but that's easy for me. The intent, I think, of what you're trying to do, I think the reality is it's not going to be achieved, and it is achieved by following what our director and general manager has outlined, and I'll support this motion.
Graham?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason we have that technical staff is to be able to make those decisions because they're trained for it. Not very many, apart from Councillor Tucker, who actually know very much about traffic control and things like that. So I would prefer the staff to make the decision. It comes back to us at some stage, and then we can consider if something's gone wrong or whatever. But at least we've got that advice that we can listen to. Getting the advice and having to make the decision will just slow things down, I think.
Live reply. Anyone else speaking? Live reply, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I said, in these cases where we're talking about parking restrictions, I don't think it is primarily a technical matter. I think it is more of a social matter, deciding on if we're having time limits and if so, how much. I don't believe that making those decisions in a timely manner is the issue in instances like this. In some moving traffic cases, it can be urgent where we realise there's a significant safety matter and something needs to be done urgently. That relates to moving traffic, stop signs or things like that, additional regulatory signs to warn of whatever it might be. Parking restrictions don't come into that. To take 1 month for a brief report to council to make that decision is not a significant delay when those other matters, the more important matters, are already going through the step of going to the Transport Forum and coming to council for a decision. So I just do not understand and I certainly don't accept the arguments that have been put forward opposing the motion. And I would also comment that it is also what I believe the existing instrument of delegation already gives it to us, the elected council.
Yeah.
And we have never explicitly delegated those powers to the general manager or any other staff member. So if council think that staff should be making these decisions, I would say there would need to be a resolution to delegate those powers, because I believe this is only reinforcing what the current legal situation is in any case.
Well, that's all right. Reply. You have raised the issue about whether there is a delegation to the general manager in relation to this. So I will ask the general manager to comment on that, because it's something you didn't raise originally.
Yeah, and it was because it was something the general manager said in his comments.
So, as part of the council's role, one of the first things they do is delegate the powers to myself to undertake the day-to-day duty. It's under 377 of the Act. Council can have a look at the delegation item if they would like. It's online. It includes all things outside the prescribed matters that can't be delegated to the general manager. It's in section 377 of the Act.
Can I just add to that? It was one of Councillor McKibbin.
Yes, we've had a,
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify around that delegation. For your information, Mr Mayor, you seconded a motion to remove a specific delegation from the general manager.
sorry,
You had seconded or moved or seconded a specific motion to remove part 4 of the delegations from the general manager.
which was rescinded.
But no delegations have been put back in place.
It's a general delegation. Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Councillor Tucker, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor Hayden and Councillor Alevras. Those against? Well, the councils, Trembath, Lee, Graham, O'Connor and McKibbin. Thank you. The motion started. We go to 8.2, establish a monthly
Affirmative in place of that, Mr Mayor.
establish a monthly community Q&A council workshop. Councillor Hayden, a motion. You've got an alternative.
Yes, Sharon has the motion.
Or it's not an alternative, it is a motion.
Well, it is a motion.
Is it the council establish a bi-monthly community
No.
infrastructure? committee
Yes, that one. Sorry, Mr Mayor.
Held that council, one, establish a bi-monthly community and infrastructure committee meeting held between ordinary council meetings. 2, confirm the committee meeting. A, is open to the public, live stream and recorded. B, operates as an information sharing and community engagement forum only. C, does not make formal council decisions or vote on council business. 3, confirm the purpose of the committee meeting is to A, discuss community operational infrastructure matters, including roads, parks, maintenance, water and community facilities. B, allow community members to raise local concerns directly with councillors and staff. C, improve transparency, communication and early identification of community issues. 4, confirm the committee meeting is not to discuss A, current council agenda items, B, confidential matters, or C, the merits of live development applications. 5, direct the general manager to publish public meeting notices and a simple agenda prior to each session. B, maintain brief notes and an action register for operational matters raised. C, ensure appropriate staff attendance where required. 6, note that any matter requiring formal council determination must proceed to a future ordinary or extraordinary council meeting in accordance with the Local Government Act and Model Code of Meeting Practice. Is that your motion?
That is it, but just in the point 1, remove held between ordinary council meetings, please.
Okay, you have a seconder? Councillor Hayden.
Okay, thank you, Mr Mayor. The revised motion simply proposes a structured, transparent and publicly accessible community and infrastructure committee meeting to allow discussion of broad community infrastructure and service-related matters in an open environment. Rural councillors are constantly approached by the community regarding roads, drainage, maintenance, parks, water infrastructure and local concerns. I believe there is value in having a regular forum where councillors, staff and community can openly discuss emerging issues, share information, receive updates and identify matters that may require future reports or formal consideration by council. Importantly, this creates a public forum where the community can actually listen to conversations, raise concerns and better understand how issues are progressing across the organisation. I also think a bi-monthly format is appropriate given the number of infrastructure and community matters regularly arising across the LGA, and the intention is not to create a formal decision-making meeting, but rather a flexible and transparent forum that can be scheduled at appropriate times throughout the year, as discussed or anything like that. All formal meetings will still come back to the ordinary or an extraordinary council meeting. It gives us that avenue to discuss works. It gives us that avenue to discuss what needs to be discussed in other forums that we currently don't have. And it's a good part of governance. And the minister explicitly mentioned that at the forum, that our deputy mayor had also attended when I asked the question. And the minister had reinforced that when he emailed me yesterday as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Alevras, yes.
Yeah, from my understanding, firstly, this type of open community engagement setting has been encouraged by Minister Hayden. And secondly, it allows community and councillor discussion to occur in a transparent public sort of setting without replacing the formal council decision-making process. At our last council meeting, survey feedback highlighted the need for council to strengthen community communication and confidence. And this setting provides an opportunity to raise and discuss community issues outside those agenda items in ordinary and extraordinary council meetings.
Thank you. Councillor Hayden, did you send through the email from Minister Hayden?
No, I haven't had time to send that through to you. No, I haven't. But Councillor Graham was at the meeting at the Rural Regional Summit when I specifically asked the meeting. I've sent that through to all councillors and to the General Manager, what the Minister had said on the night. Other mayors and other councils have reiterated that they are holding these meetings and they can hold meetings as long as they're open to the public. So there's nothing preventing us from doing that. I can send that through right now if you want to have a look at that.
Well, I was going to send a letter to the minister raising the issues that you said to just get him to confirm what you had said in your email.
Would you like me to read out what he sent back? The last part of his email yesterday?
No.
It's only brief. Why can't I read it out? It's from the minister.
I'll allow you to read it. What does it say?
Okay, just opening it then, sorry. Model meeting code, Office of Local Government as issued and FAQ providing detailed guidance on what constitutes prohibited councillor briefing under the new model code and what constitutes a permissible workshop. The FAQ is available at. As I discussed with you at the Rural Regional Summit, however, there is nothing preventing your council from considering advice from staff at a formally constituted committee meeting. of which notice has been given and the public is invited, unless there is reasoning given in section 10A of the Local Government Act for material to be made confidential. There is no legislative principle a council can use to be briefed by staff in private. That's his response.
Okay, but that's very, but it doesn't go into great detail as to
He said committee meetings. He said in the meeting,
Committee
if you
meetings.
ask councillor Graham
the substance of the committee measures is what I'm concerned.
and
Right, councillor.
Thanks, Mr Mayor.
he said, don't delve into
Councillor
private.
Hayden, right, councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, for all councils, for all us councillors, this is a very prickly, difficult topic because it's big change. And I think our general manager is handling these changes very well. But I might just add a few things. So this notice of motion was quite detailed, it goes over 3 pages, and the general manager has spent a lot of time putting a detailed reply to that notice of motion. Then all of a sudden, hey presto, we come to a meeting and there's a equally long changed notice of motion, which I'm trying to get my head around on a very difficult area, and we're supposed to vote at it. Number one, I don't think that's fair or just or right. I think we should delay any decision on this. Number two, we need to comply and seem to be complying with the model code of meeting practice. We need to be mindful of the limited resources of our council staff in putting forward motions and then changing notices of motions. And therefore I won't, and I'd like to see a copy, if you could send that, of that email from the minister, and I will not be supporting this motion.
Councillor Trembath.
Following on from councillor O'Connor, I can't support this motion as it stands unless we get the general manager and the mayor to have an official correspondence relating directly to this motion, telling us what's available, what we can do, because we are very aware of the code of meeting practice and what it means. I mean, I understand what our general managers are put into it, and he knows it very well, but I couldn't support anything based on someone's email and saying I had a conversation at a meeting that would, enable us to conduct meetings that we know are not allowed. I cannot support the motion.
Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I was with councillor Hayden. Did say in no uncertain terms that you should be running your council through committees, but he didn't really elaborate on how. I just go back to the fact that we haven't had any of these briefings or meetings for this 5 months now. And do we really think we've not been making the right decisions? Because I think we have made good decisions without the extra meeting and discussion that perhaps we haven't really needed it.
If I could, I'll ask the general manager, if we were to put such a system in place, what staff time would this take? And also noting that you're meant to put an agenda together without knowing what's going to be raised at these committee meetings, how would that be achieved? And also I note there's a reference to an action register. Would that action register then constitute a decision from that committee which would be contrary to the Local Government Act?
That's difficult to talk about. Well, yes, there's staff time that will need to go into this, and can I first say that staff understand the roles of committees and what they play in this. It's in the model code that you can have committees. The issues that we talk about is when we have, or what has been precluded, is operational discussions about things that you can't have behind closed doors, which is the crux of what we were trying to do. I'm not arguing against committees because there's a provision in the model code that allows you to have committees. It is how you conduct them and how you go about those that is the issue. Putting an agenda together, we've previously done that before. Under old informal briefing sessions, they go from an hour to 4 hours, depending on what you're talking about and what that looks like. But they were all done under the proviso that they are done enclosed rather than open to the public. If we were to keep actions, my concern is council's making actions or decisions at a committee that you're not allowed to have actions at is something that would need to be discussed at a formal council meeting as the code now indicates. And that would then mean that before any action could happen on the actions, you would need to put a separate report back to council. So there is time and process that we would need to consider as part of that. And if council were looking to do this, we would have to look at some sort of process around what that would look like. Have I confused everyone? Because, well, that's a given, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Tucker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the old meeting code, when we had questions from the public early in each meeting, people would come in and could raise any issue they wanted to, whether it was on their business paper or not. And we could take stuff on notice, we could give a reply, we could give an answer at the following meeting, whatever. I think it's pretty silly that now the only opportunity that the public get to raise matters is in our public forum at the start of the meeting, and then can only raise points or ask questions relating to what's on the business paper. There's no other opportunity in the whole of council setting for people to come and talk to us about matters of their concern. And I just think that's a pretty silly outcome. I personally cannot see any way that this would go against the new code of meeting practice. Based on my own reading of the code or from any commentary that I've seen, I can't see that that there would be anything to prevent this happening. So I will be supporting it.
Yes, through the chair, I won't be supporting this motion. I believe it's going to take up more staff time. We have monthly consultations at the meeting now. The public can put to the councillors and staff and write any letters they want to write to them and have any complaints they want to have. I think also under the last code of meeting practice that the monthly meetings were, the briefing before the council meetings were have been not allowed, haven't been allowed, whatever the word is. So I believe community consultation is covered adequately rather than have another meeting, other meetings.
We're proposing an amendment to say that council defer a decision in relation to this until the mayor has had an opportunity to write to Minister Herning to confirm that the ambit of this would fit within the current Local Government Act. I'm not against it, but I just want to double check that we're not going to breach anything. I will use the substance of Councillor Hayden's notes from the meeting to go back to the Minister and say, it's agreed and this is what's proposed. Do you consider? Because I just want to make sure we're not going to breach the Local Government Act. I also note that there is a motion before, I think it's the Legislative Assembly or maybe the Legislative Council to allow briefing sessions to be reintroduced. And I'm not sure of the status of that at the moment. The General Manager may be able to advise if you've got any update.
Through the chair, not at this point in time. We just know that mayors and staff have advocated for the return to informal briefing sessions to allow that open and frank conversation to continue.
So the notice of motion that I would be proposing that the amendment, sorry.
You know, if you're going to move the amendment that you're going to write off to them, I'll second your motion.
Okay, right, so the amendment would be basically, that the notice of motion to establish a Maidstone Community Q&A Council workshop be deferred until the Mayor has written to Minister Honig, some of the Minister for Local Government, to ensure that the, say, terms of reference and the statements made at the regional, rural regional conference, is that correct? And that this would not, and that the proposed notice of motion would not breach the local government. You happy with that?
You have to repeat the last bit. You lost me at the end, sorry.
Where did you get to?
Just to ensure the process does not be in practice yet.
And then I'm quite happy for Councillor Hayden's, the substance of her amendment to be included under that, so we, if it comes back to council, we don't have to reinvent the words,
Which
with the deletion of the words held between ordinary council meetings. You happy with that?
which
I mean,
all of it,
Yeah, just chuck it in there if you can.
the whole lot.
Yeah. Then we don't have to re-insert words.
In fact, it's likely not to.
No, you can't copy and paste.
No, not usually.
I'll put my hand up because I want to ask if you add an amendment into your amendment.
How do I frame this?
If that's too hard, could I suggest,
Add it as an attachment of reasoning.
or,
In the minutes.
Motion carried.
Oh, in minutes.
This is going in the minutes.
Response for the notice of motion.
in response, we're just saying in response to the notice of motion proposed by councillor Hayden at the meeting, which is that one, rather than the one that was originally.
Correct. The motion.
Yes.
Has emerged the motion to establish a monthly Q&A workshop. That is what you're proposing,
Be
isn't it?
deferred.
Be deferred.
Tell me if it's written to them. As outlined in councillor,
Add in the motion.
in councillor Hayden's
Notice of motion.
notice of motion. And you can get rid of that bit because it will just form part of the write-off.
So. All right, but yeah, well, I've moved it. Councillor McCarthy seconded it, but before we go further, you were going to ask.
I was going to ask, in that, if I just read it, because you've requesting to write to the minister to get his answer. What I think would be more beneficial, considering there has been this ongoing confusion for 5 months now, if you could please invite the minister to this council to brief all councillors and staff on that. He has come to other councils within our region, and I would really like it if you could add that. If he can't just respond, if he could come in person, that would be more beneficial because you can ask all the questions you want to ask.
So, okay, so just before we type anything, I'm intending to get this letter off in the next day or two.
You can send the letter, but you could ask him to come.
And we will ask him to come. At the moment, he's scheduled to address the JO conference on the 28th. The only issue is, I can't guarantee come, no one can guarantee. I'll certainly ask.
Yeah.
I will ask.
So if you can just ask, because if that was done, then he can come here in this open public session that he likes, and councillors can ask him the questions, because I did stand up first at the Rural Regional Summit to ask the question, as Katie knows, and 2 other people jumped up and I had to get my question in quick, which I couldn't get the whole gist of it out. I could only brief it as much as I could, but he was very adamant. He said that councillors need to stop getting caught up in the process and just have meetings.
We'll ask the question.
That's fine, but I'm sure it'll just clarify what I've heard already.
All right, so we've got a motion.
Thank you.
So we'll add and we'll ask the minister to attend, do a presentation to Oberon.
That would be great.
If possible, yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've just got a request.
Yes.
Yeah, having the minister of the JR, would you bring back a summary or report about how the other councils are all doing it? It'd be good to be consistent, you know, like, so if Blaney,
Yes.
Orange, Bathurst, if we should all be doing the same
We're
thing.
doing it now. We're inquiring of how other councils are doing it. And they're not all doing it the same, but yes, and that will also flavour what happens.
Exactly.
So absolutely, and we're doing it now, and other councils are not, there are some varying views on it. So I'm not saying, and that's why I just want to be clear, I'm not anti what councillor Hayden was saying, I'm just trying to just make sure we're kosher, you know, we're right.
I like to be in the middle of the group, not now, so.
Could I just quickly add to that one, Mr. Mayor? Sorry, and I shouldn't have spoken this third time. But if you could perhaps organise, if that meeting could possibly be organised, we could talk to other Central Tablelands councils and invite them along as well.
Yeah. Like that. Yeah. All right. Are you happy with all that? Yes, okay. Yeah.
Information is power.
All right. So we have an amendment. Who else wants the mic to speak for or against the amendment? Councillor Lee.
I'd like to speak against it. I think it takes up more council time. As I said before, we've got the monthly consultations at the meeting, and the forums. Residents can approach staff anytime they want. And also under the code of meeting practice, the pre-meeting briefing were taken away. So I think they're the rules that I've seen since I've been here. Now, maybe.
So, any other discussion? If not, I put the amendment, all in favour of the amendment. All councillors in favour except councillor Lee. The amendment now becomes the motion. All in favour of the motion. All councillors except councillor Lee. Right. 9, reports of decision. 9.1, awnings over the public domain in Oberon Street, Oberon. The recommendation is that Council 1 notes the submission received during the exhibition of the draft awning policy 3136. 2, adopt the updated awning policy 3136, including amendments responding to matters raised in the submissions outlined in the report. 3, delegate to the General Manager to make any minor amendments if required. 4, publish the adopted policy on Council's website. 5, develop design guidelines for inclusions in Council's development control plan. Have a motion, please. Councillor Alevras and Councillor O'Connor. Thank you. Councillor Alevras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I think after fatal sort of awning collapses of Bathurst and Dongola, it's a sensible step to ensure the safety of the main street, and I guess it also gives us a chance to improve the look and consistency of our main street as well.
Councillor O'Connor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is a very good motion, and I understand the background, but there's a couple of issues with this. Firstly, the community has a significant investment in our streetscape, our main streetscape. So we have to understand whatever we do there is going to be different and going to upset us. And we've got to do it really correctly. In proposing this policy, there's a cost. There'll be a cost to each of the property owners. And it could be significant. It could be 10 to 20,000 per shop. I haven't estimated, but if you'd like to figure out there, it'd probably come close. Now, if we put this policy up, but in fact, we know it's out of the reach of a lot of the shop owners, particularly the ones that have got poorer awnings. I know a couple of them, I'm sure they won't be able to pay for it. I think to myself, what are we doing? We're passing a policy that'll protect us, possibly, but we're not going to affect change. And if we're really fair income about this, and we want to get that streetscape tidied up, because this is where all the visitors to Oberon come first, and it's what our community has invested in our streetscape, I would propose the council look to provide some incentive to the shop owners, okay?
So you realise you're seconding the motion,
Yeah,
right? So are you
I'm
proposing,
second, but I'm just raising some issues.
right?
I think it's a great motion, but I fear there's consequences that we should also take into account. And I think what I will be doing, I believe this, the town improvement fund, that's for public exhibition, is that right? So I'll be making a submission in that some funds from the town improvement fund, say a third of the remaining balance, be put toward shop owners to help them with the capital cost. Because otherwise I think this will not have the effect it should. Thank you.
Maybe if I could ask, the Director of Planning, what, have you had any estimates? Have you had any, in the submissions, were there any shop owners coming back and saying too costly, or have we an idea of what it's going to cost?
Through the chair, the submissions received were from the owner's engineers. The engineers indicated that if to meet the current standards, they'd be having to significantly rebuild the awnings. The alternate was to put in the posts.
Yes, that's what we
And as was adopted at the December meeting, council agreed to look at posts, which is for the owner to be the lesser of expenses. I'm not saying it's cheaper, but a lesser expense for them to do that. But for sure, the awnings are expensive.
So they've got to put the post in and the bollards.
Correct.
Yes. So do we have any idea what that's likely to cost?
I haven't got any quotes, so through the chair for that, but each awning would be specific. They have their own different quotes. Yeah, I don't have any quotes.
We came back to make it easier at that stage to address some of the cost issue.
Correct.
Yes, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, thank you. I brought up about this streetscape objective in here, and I thank the planning director for the response that design guidelines will be within council's DCP, as we've got to do a new DCP going forward. So we've got to be mindful and keep that up our sleeves so that that gets included. Other than that, I'm reasonably happy with it. I do want them all to look alike when repairs have to be done. The shop owners aren't necessarily the people that are within the shops. The building owners are quite often different to the shop owners in the shop. So it's part of building maintenance. So I'm happy with that policy. Thank you.
Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I haven't planned to speak on this item, but I will very briefly. I think the consultation period has improved the policy. I think it is considerably better than what went on the exhibition. Just in relation to the cost for shop owners, I just point out the start of the second paragraph in the preface. It's not compulsory for shops and commercial buildings to have awnings, but where they choose to is provide an extra option available to them. And my gut feeling, without any firm evidence to back it up, is I think in most cases it would be cheaper to have the posts than to design a cantilever awning, just because of the size of the members you need to support that awning. So that's all I needed to say.
And I do thank people, especially councillors who put submissions in. I do think they were good submissions. Any other discussion? Councillor McCarthy, will you say something?
No, I just wonder whether the council still got the plans. So it takes St Vincent's de Paul, that's been built in my time. So therefore it would have had to been approved and the plans should be still within council. Also heap of buildings, I think that we should still have the structural engineers. Mr. Sedoma done a lot of the awnings down. And you take Howell Brothers, their awning must have been approved because it comes out into the footpath, the footprint of the awning to stabilise it. So there's heaps of there. Anyway, let's see how we go, and if we've made a mistake, we can come back and amend it.
One reply.
Mr. Mayor, look, I mean, simply put, this is a safety concern, and I don't think it's a big ask to get an engineering sort of, accreditation, which is every 5 years. I mean, after what's happened with Bathurst and Algonquin, I don't think we want to happen here in Oberon.
All right. Put the motion, all in favour? That carried unanimously. Thank you.
I have an alternate for the next.
Nine point two, development application DA 2025-095, alterations, additions to dwelling at 65 Shakespeare Close, Oberon. The recommendation is that one, council approve development application DA 2025-095 for alterations, additions to a dwelling at lot 41 in DP 809145, being known as 65 Shakespeare Close, Oberon, in accordance with section 4.16 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, subject to conditions contained within this report. For the following reasons, development is permissible with the Oberon Local Environment Plan 2013. Development applies to the Oberon Local Environment Plan 2013. The development is considered to be appropriate and will not impact the locality unreasonably. Two, a division be called in accordance with sections 375A of the Local Government Act 1993. Councillor Hayden, understanding of the motion.
Yes, I do have one. Sharon does. If you, do you have it, Mr. Mayor?
I believe I have it here, just a second. So I'll read it again. Your motion is that council approved development application DA 2025.095 for alterations, additions to a dwelling at lot 41 in DP 809145, being known as 65 Shakespeare Close, Oberon, in accordance with section 416 of the Environmental Planning Assessment Act 1979, subject to amended conditions requiring the removal of the unauthorised structure located at the rear of the site within 6 months of the determination date, due to its ongoing adverse visual amenity, impacts on adjoining residential properties, and the unresolved concerns raised through the neighbour notification process. Subject condition contained within this report for the following reasons: the development is permissible with the overall local environmental plan 2013. The development complies with the overall local environmental plan 2013. The development is considered to be appropriate and will not impact the locality unreasonable. Two, a division be called in accordance with section 375A of the Local Government Act 1993. Is that your motion?
That's it.
Could I suggest for clarity? Oh, do you have a seconder? Yes, councillor. Could I suggest for clarity, in your amendment, after subject to, you put colon and then you put A, amended conditions requiring, and the A will be amended conditions for the rear of, etc., up to the report. Then you go semicolon and B, conditions contained within this report being for the following reasons. Then you have bullets A to B, because otherwise it's a little bit confusing. I don't know. Method planning, is that more understanding?
I think for the chair, that is more understanding.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
you've combined all of it together, which then seems to make the second condition subject to it.
That's okay. Yeah.
Just when I was reading the amendment, I
Okay.
understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
and legally, what
Subject to-
councillor Hayden's put forward is okay, that the building be demolished.
And then just go,
You can ask that.
Well, I've got all my reasons that went
Through
through.
the chair.
the removal, well,
Oh,
what do you want me to say?
Says,
Yeah, so that's fine if we,
or you decide to
Take out amended conditions
condition order to remove
subject to
separately.
the removal.
but in this motion, the motion is framed, we can enforce that within the approval process.
It also allows the applicant to appeal that as well.
Where's B, Mr. Mayor?
Sorry.
Where's B?
It starts with,
So we're trying to,
That's okay. Once you structure that out, then I'll speak to it.
within the,
So can we just take out removal of the unauthorised structure, don't say within 6 months?
or why not 6 months?
Well, I'm gonna make that the B. Because there's no other B.
Well, the B would be all this here, isn't it?
No, that's the reasoning.
Oh, okay, but not if you're happy with that, it's all right. I thought that was the B, because that goes into the normal conditions.
Yep, so you approve it subject to the conditions and.
Subject to
first
the
con- the
condition of
first
moving
condition,
the
A.
structure.
A.
That sounds
second-
simple.
And the second condition of all is the 3 bullets, isn't it?
The 3 bullets are the reasons that you approve subject to some there.
Right. Then you don't.
The A is an additional condition that has been moved now that will involve the removal of the structure
Correct,
that has conditions placed in that report currently that support
correct.
But don't you just say and
Anyway, can we move on?
and B following
No,
conditions?
no, because they're reasons.
All right, okay.
They're not conditions. The
Okay.
conditions are within the report, which you've highlighted already.
But you don't need them B.
That's, so the A just identifies an additional condition you want with that as part of this development. I think the reasons remain the same. And the reasons remain the same. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Or you don't need name
Well, I think that
to clarify.
you've clarified that you're approving it subject to conditions.
Yeah.
And you're adding
A
an
condition.
additional condition, which is the
That's it.
removal. So by highlighting that it's an A,
Yeah,
I think that goes a long way to make that
that's what I was trying to do.
appropriate. But there is no B.
Okay.
Okay, you happy with that?
Yeah.
And you're happy with that seconder? Just for clarity?
Do I speak to it now?
Yes.
Okay, I find retrospective unauthorised works extremely frustrating from a governance perspective. Residents across the Oberon LGA are expected to lodge applications, undergo neighbour notification and obtain approval before commencing works. Council needs to be consistent in upholding that process because people need to understand that you cannot simply undertake building works first and seek approval later. I acknowledge this is a family home and I do not believe it would be reasonable or proportionate to require the removal of all the residential alterations that have now been completed, particularly given the financial impacts that could have on the occupants during an already difficult cost of living period. However, the report clearly identifies that works were undertaken without consent, and that is not the correct process. Some councils would require the removal of all unauthorised works. My amendment is attempting to take a balanced and practical approach. I do not believe the neighbour amenity concerns relating to the unauthorised rear structure have been adequately resolved simply through the suggestion of future hedge planting. A hedge may take years to establish, requires ongoing maintenance, and in the meantime, neighbouring residents are continuing to look at an unfinished and unauthorised structure that has existed for a considerable period of time. My amendment simply requires the removal of the unauthorised rear structure and associated materials causing the ongoing visual amenity concerns within a reasonable timeframe. And I think that is a fair outcome that recognises both the circumstances of the family home and the legitimate concerns raised by neighbouring residents, while also reinforcing that development consent processes must still be respected. Thank you.
Councillor Everett.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And look, I agree, we should approve the parts of the as stated in the original recommendation, but I don't think we should leave the actual neighbour amenity issue unresolved, through, like Councillor Hayden said, vague future, hedge.
Yeah, just to comment, it's a complicated issue. I understand Councillor Hayden's approach, but in the summary, completed without consent, yes. Recommendation, which has been approved by council staff, council approved the development. So I can't understand how we could sort of change that tonight, but it's up, you know more than me, but my feelings are the council staff has approved the development, acknowledged that it's illegal, but you've approved it. I think maybe in this case, it could be taken that if people do illegal work and it is proven to be okay by council staff, maybe pay a double fine or something like that and move ahead. But then again, you can have the issues as was also commented on, probably ongoing to talk to residents. That's my feelings with it.
Thank you. Can I just ask, people sort of, planning, if this structure was erected today, would it be an exempt garden shed?
Through the chair, I don't believe so, Mr. Mayor.
Because of the size of it or because of its location of the boundary?
Through the chair, I think location of the boundary. There's also some brick here which they're proposing to remove, but yeah, it's if you want to answer, but I think with the inclusion of landscaping in staff's opinion and the addition of further landscaping from the plans that have been submitted, we felt that it would have satisfied the neighbour's concern. But in terms of exempt, I don't believe it would have been exempt.
So if we built that today, that structure today, it wouldn't fall within the exemptions for those sort of structures under changes to the New South Wales planning.
Through the chair, I think only minor non-compliance, but it could have been considered as potential complying development, which is
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
which is the next level up, not necessarily requiring a DA.
Sorry, Councillor Cole. Councillor Trembath, Councillor Trembath.
Through the chair to the general manager, what are the implications if we go against a recommendation from staff? I thought there was.
Well, so through the chair, this is provided as a staff recommendation. The council will make the decision on whether they agree with that recommendation or not. Provisions available to landowners around Land Environment Court are currently available to someone who either supports a recommendation or doesn't. But the implication here is that staff have done an assessment. The assessment seems to be able to support, noting that it is development that required consent initially. So that complicates the matter a little bit if council were to go against the recommendation of council.
If the landowner is to appeal, what is the cost to council after, we've had a recommendation by our planning department that is okay,
We would have to fund that.
and estimate?
Depends how far it got.
I mean,
It's hard. I can't sit here and give you a.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have an issue with the recommendation, and I was going to ask, how it works started without approval, and is it like a seek forgiveness or a misunderstanding of the approvals required? And the other thing was, did planning possibly take into consideration maybe a penalty because of that work that was started, as opposed to this?
I defer to the director.
Through the chair, that is something to be considered later on. Councillor Trembath, it's certainly not off the table.
As it stands, I wouldn't support it because of the financial implications that may come to council. If we decide that we're not going to approve it, and then we're going to get an appeal, which I would expect we're highly likely to. Yes.
Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I had the same question as you. I put it to, in my words, to the director. had the original DA included all changes and additions, would it have been passed?
Chair, that's difficult to answer because we've got to notify the neighbours. They may have different type of submissions. It's again, it's a merit-based assessment, so the answer, if it's a similar application to today and the similar responses, the answer would be the same outcome. The report we put to councillors today does.
Thank you. So
compliance. Yeah.
So then, in my mind, given the importance of a proportionate response, which was described by one councillor, I'm not a town planner, and I find a councillor's recommendation could not include all the risks that are associated with. Therefore, I would defer to our director, who's in a much better position to make a decision on this difficult case. Thank you.
Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure we all recognise the potential for costs if depending on what the response is to that decision. I'm sure we all also get annoyed when we find that things have gone ahead without people going through the right processes and getting the required permits, and it's trying to draw a balance between that. If all you ever do is say, okay, we'll approve it retrospectively, well, there's no incentive for anyone else to do the right thing. And people might think, oh, well, I've seen council's response to these situations. I'll just do it. I'll save myself all the permit fees. And if I get caught, the worst will have to happen. I'll have to put in a retrospective application and I won't be any worse off overall. So it's trying to balance those two things. Just a couple of questions for the director. One of them has already been answered about whether the enclosure which that we're proposing would have to be removed, whether it would have been compliant if it had been applied for in the first place. So my other questions are, if the wording says that we're approving DA for alterations and additions to a dwelling at lot 41, blah, 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 is it okay to have conditions which relate to a totally different structure other than that dwelling? So it's this proposed removal of the unauthorised structure at the rear of the property is not part of the dwelling. So I'm just wondering if that is a lawful process to attach a condition relating to something that's not part of the application. And my second question is just seeking some general comments, not specifically relating to this application, but just whether you could comment on in what circumstances of people going ahead without approval might we consider, or might you recommend that we consider prosecution?
Through the chair, and answer to your first question, and just further to the reasons why the structure would not be exempted. I mean, it's also quite deep excavation, and there is under exempt development, you can only do a minimum 600mm excavation. That excavation is deeper than that for what they call a wine cellar or equipment enclosure, so it does go quite deep. The equipment enclosure that's in question is on the plans that are referenced in the approval. So if it's considered as part of the overall documentation. So if council is the mind to us that it be removed, then just have to be removed off the plans or a condition in that regard. In terms of works that have been undertaken, that the council we'd recommend, certainly if it's obviously a risk or a safety issue for the persons, and it's that far outside council's development control plan or LEP or even the exempt criteria, it's something that we look at. More recently, you recall council staff did recommend refusal of a matter last year, and that then we issued an order, and that was resolved in that regard. So it's probably no specific reasons I can give you right now, Councillor Tucker, but there's certainly would be reasons.
Yeah, and I wasn't seeking any comments relating to that and the potential prosecution. I was just after general thoughts on where, how you decide whether you do prosecute or whether you do retrospectively include.
Yes, and further through the chair, also public submissions as well come into play. And if there were more than two significant amount of submissions, that certainly weighs heavily as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mill.
Councillor Graham, we have.
I understand councillor Hayden's approach to this, but it's difficult to go against the recommendation from the staff, but can't keep encouraging people to build things without a DA. There needs to be some sort of consequence for doing that, and that's sort of not part of the issue that we're talking about. Maybe it should be.
So one other clarification, if we were to put the condition that councillor Hayden proposed in this, do we have any idea as to what the likelihood of the resolution of council being challenged? And if so, what's the likelihood of success?
Through the chair, I don't think we could provide an answer to that.
Could it be challenged? Could it
Definitely, yes,
would it definitely?
be challenged. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas if we didn't put what council had, we stuck to the screening, etc., that is less likely. Can we insist on the screening?
Yes, through the chair, it's a condition of consent. The applicant has viewed the report, and their advice was they won't be attending the meeting tonight to the forum because they were happy with the recommendation. That's certainly council's opinion to change that, but they were happy with the recommendation.
Right.
Right, reply, and then we can move on.
So we can enforce them, obviously, growing that screening. What happens if they don't do the screening or dies or something?
Through the chair, if it's a condition of consent, it's a matter of, it's a compliance matter ongoing, so we can ensure that the submitters would receive advice that if council approves the application with conditions, they can view those conditions, so they would probably self-manage the compliance as well, and would advise council if there wasn't a compliance.
And if they didn't put the hedging in, etc., that they would be prosecuted.
Through the chair, that's correct, and we can certainly make you could adjust the condition to put certain size as well at the plantings needed.
Have you recommended this?
So we did for
We
a
did.
condition. There is something in the condition that seems there.
Right,
Anyone else before I reply?
I'd just like to, thank you, reintegrate a fine of some sort or an extra fee if this is approved and.
That's a different issue, I think, councillor.
Sorry,
That's a different issue.
different issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
The move an amendment or
I'd just like you to take it under consideration for the future.
So, yeah.
Yes, right reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't want to spend too much time on this. I just wanted it to be clarified that we're here as the governing body and we must put forth the planning laws when they are required. So I've tried to do it the best way I can because we can't be seen as being soft on the outside or we're going to get walked on continuously. So we've implemented refusals in the past due to non-compliance. This is not a refusal. This is an approval with a condition. And I thought the condition was quite fair. I'm not aware if other councillors have gone down to the location. I know one has. I went down there myself today, and it is not fair for the other residents in that area to be looking at the unsightliness that is at the rear that has been the contentious issue. So that's why I've put the condition, and I'm happy with how it is. Anyone can challenge any planning decision. That is a gimme. That is just something that does happen. But this is this council being firm in its response under planning law. Thank you.
Okay. I put the motion that that's on the screen. All in favour? Alevras, Hayden, McKibbin and Tucker, or all other councillors against? So as a foreshadowed motion, we go back to the motion on the books. Do I have someone to put the motion as it's on the books, please? Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Trembath, thank you. Any further discussion on this matter? Yes.
I'll be speaking against the motion as it is. I want people in our community to understand that they cannot be doing unauthorised works, especially some that are quite deep that
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, that the mover and seconder should be speaking.
Sorry.
No, yes.
he did that. My apologies.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just go back to what was discussed before, that we have been given direction by the director. This has to be proportional. We have to take into account risk. It is, as Councillor Tucker has said, it's balancing one from the other. And in regard to this, that's why I've moved this motion.
Councillor Trembath.
I'm happy to second it. As I said, I didn't have a real issue, but all I was wanting to know was the consideration of penalties, but I'm happy that we move this.
Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm now speaking. My apologies for earlier. I will be voting against the recommendation as it stands without any anything in there that can remove some unauthorised structure. I do believe that we cannot be light on with our decision making when it comes to unauthorised works. We have to be fair and just, and I believe there should be something else added to the recommendation along those lines, because we can't be seen to just keep approving unauthorised works. We made a precedent in the past.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I don't think we're continually approving unauthorised works. In my time here on council, it's quite rare. And this is probably the most significant instance. So we're not constantly doing it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's point of order. So you're raising what? The comment made is incorrect.
Incorrect, that's right.
Okay. So can I continue?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We created a precedent when we issued an order to remove unauthorised works, and I wanted to abide by planning law and legislation, so that I can't approve this as it is. So I'll be voting against it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hayden. I would ask again, the Director of Planning, is the only reference to the screening in point 16 on page 93, right issue of the occupation civic, the hedge planting along the northern side of the equipment enclosure building shall be planted. The hedging shall extend a further 5 metres to the east of the equipment enclosure building. The brick columns on the enclosure building are to be removed. So it does talk about the brick columns being removed, but it doesn't talk about a height of the hedge, does it?
That is correct. And also looking at the plan, it says proposed Pittosporum hedge planting. It doesn't give a size, so
Pittosporums can go up to
3 metres.
3 metres, yeah.
And it can be a weed.
Make sure that meets that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just sort of follow up on the question Councillor Lee asked about. Is there any way that it's possible to have a penalty in the form of higher fees or some sort of fine? I'm not aware of anything, but could the director comment on, is there any mechanism that would allow that to happen?
Through the chair, I'm sorry, Director, through the chair, there is a condition requiring a building information certificate to allow the existing works the unauthorised works to remain. So council would charge the equivalent DA construction certificate fees for those equivalent works. so we don't miss out on application fees in that regard. There is always the option to consider early infringement notices if that,
So is that requiring a fee or approval of that enclosure? Is that in here at the moment? It is, so we'd be getting an additional fee rate.
yes.
Yeah. But as it is, it wouldn't need an extra decision from council to do that.
Through the chair, condition number 2 is requiring a building information certificate must be submitted and approved by council prior to the development continuing on. So to allow those works to go, then the future works is a construction certificate to finish the works. And
But is that one for the dwelling and another one for the enclosure? That's what I'm saying.
through the chair, it'd be for all the unauthorised works undertaken to date on the whole site,
Including that.
including the dwelling and the equipment enclosure down to the rear. And then future new works would require a construction certificate to go forward in accordance with the development consent that's being considered today.
Yes, General Manager.
Just also through the chair, a building certificate has a limited life as well. So the obligations on the landowner moving forward will be to continue to update those building certificate applications. So there is a further cost moving forward to the owner. Should they live there for that period of time, and then they'll go with the land and need to follow up those types of things if they can sell.
All right, any, I'd reply, Councillor Trembath. Oh, Councillor. Councillor Cox, sorry, Councillor Lee, what do you?
I'd just like to add to that. I don't believe that this is making a precedent for illegal. But I think we should clarify any future work may imply fines. I know it will have to be, have to make a resolution about it, but I'd just like to have that noted that this isn't, we aren't agreeing with any illegal work, but in this instance, staff has looked at it and basically approved it, but have added the extra fees, which.
Okay, yep. Councillor O'Connor,
No further comments.
I put the motion, all in favour. Carried by all councillors except Councillor Hayden. Yep. We go to 9.3, tendering method selection, community energy upgrade fund. Recommendation of council boards the use of the open tendering method in accordance with clause 166A, the local government regulations 2021, for the delivery of solar systems and battery storage of the water treatment plant, council administration building and council depot. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Alevras, seconder. Councillor O'Connor, thank you. Councillor Alevras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just seeking some clarification. Whether we're required to purchase the exact items in the specifications listed in the grant application, or whether there is flexibility to procure equivalent or superior alternatives. It's just that battery technologies we know and the chemistry continue to evolve. So newer models may provide increased capacity for the same value of money. In other words, we get more bang for our buck. So yeah, just want to get that clear.
I'll hold the question until we have the seconder, and let's ask the director to answer. Right, seconder.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. That's a very good report given by our Director of Corporate Services. No further comment.
Director of Corporate Services, would you have an answer?
Yes. Through the chair, Councillor Alevras is correct. The draft specs that we have drawn up give the market a lot of flexibility to propose nice up-to-date and best solutions for what we're trying to achieve. So absolutely we'll capture all that current technology that's evolving very quickly. So that's the intention of how the draft specs are crafted.
So, and I think Councillor Alevras said, so we're not hamstrung by what we put in our in our grant application. When we specified equipment, we can actually move outside that. We have some flexibility.
Right. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And anyone else wish to speak on this issue? You want to write a reply? No. All right, I'll put the motion, all in favour. Carried unanimously. Thank you. 9.4 delegates to external organisations and appointment of council committees. The recommendation is that council reconfirm its appointment of council delegates to external organisations. To council reconfirm its appointments and chair of the section 355 committees and make appointments to other council committees, community committees and work parties for the period until 15 September 2026 to align with mayoral election. Could I have a motion, please? Clr Trembath, Councillor Graham. Thank you. Councillor Graham, I'd suggest that we move in. Have you got anything to say? Sorry, committee of the whole.
I'll move this into the committee of the whole then.
So you're seconding. Sorry, did you have any comment?
No.
Okay, so right, you've moved this into a committee of the whole. Do I have a second on those? Councillor Alevras. Thank you. So the committee of the whole, we have following ones to consider: the Black Springs Community Association, an alternate delegate. So do we have any nominations to the alternate delegate?
Councillor Lee.
Thank you, councillor. I'll accept that. Thank you.
Any other? That's it, Councillor Lee, right? Oregon District Community Association, alternate delegate.
Councillor Lee.
I'll have to decline
You
that.
don't have very many, that's all. That's the only reason.
So wait on, right.
Can I reply to that?
You don't have to go out.
Wait on, you've declined. Are there any other nominations for alternate delegate?
Not to say I won't do it in the future, so.
The Oregon District Community Association, do we have any nominations?
Councillor Alevras. Someone's got to put their hand up.
Okay, I'll put my hand up.
There you go, councillor Lee's put his hand up.
Right.
You don't have to go all the
Sorry,
time.
I will just say, Councillor Lee, that I normally attend, so it's only if I can't attend normally that you would attend, and it's once a month. The Joint Regional Planning Panel, alternate delegate, do we have a nomination, please?
Can I just comment before you call nominations? Later in this business paper in 12.2 in Crennan's presentation, it says that regional planning panels are being abolished.
Mhm.
So
Yes, that could be the case, but they're still extant at the moment.
so being abolished doesn't mean it's happened now.
No, that's right.
Could I just say something with the JRPP? Because the joint regional will be abolished, it will then become a local planning panel. And there's already 2 delegates there. I hardly heard anything anyway, so it probably doesn't need an alternate.
Commentary.
Yes.
Currently you have 3. That's a council resolution to have 3. If it turns into 2 at some other stage, then if there's not a nominee,
There's
then
not a nominee, we stick it at 2, have it at 2.
we'll inform you.
It was just thought, we've only got a few months to go, that was all.
And it's only from September. Okay, so we stick it at 2.
Yeah.
All right, Community Services Committee delegate.
I think councillor Alevras should be nominated.
I'd like to nominate for that.
So we have Councillor Trembath and you nominating Councillor Alevras.
Yeah.
What was that? No.
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So Councillor Trembath, any other nominations? Councillor Trembath, Heritage Committee delegate.
Come on, Tony. Councillor Lee.
Right. Any other nominations? Okay, the Hazel Grove Public School Reserve Committee Chair, Councillor Alevras. Any other nominations? Okay. Could I have someone move us back to open council, please? Councillor Hayden, second, please. Councillor Alevras, all in favour? Right. So the motion, the motions will be as follows, following the committee of the whole. That 1, council reconfirm its appointments of council delegates to external organisations, and make the following changes. Black Springs Community Station alternate delegate will be Councillor Lee. B, the Burrigo District Community Association alternate delegate will be Councillor Lee. C, the Joint Regional Planning Panel, there will be no additional alternate delegate, noting that there are already 2 delegates to the JRPP. D, the Community Service Committee delegate will be Councillor Trembath. E, the Heritage Committee delegate will be Councillor O'Connor. And F, the Hazel Grove Public School Reserve Committee chair will be Councillor Alevras. 2, Council reconfirm its appointments as chair of the Section 355 committees and make appointments to other committees, community and working parties for the period until 15th September to align with the mayoral election. Who was the mover and seconder?
Lauren and Katie.
Lauren and Katie, you agree with that amendment? Those amendments?
And
You
councillor
include those under 2? Sorry, move that under 1, right. I'll just wait till Sharon gets that so we can put it up.
Doing community and working parts as well. And
done that.
done that.
Yeah.
I'd like to remove myself from the sports working fund. Because I believe it's come a dog's breakfast. You've got 5 people on it now, and I remember when it was first set up, Councillor Trembath said we only need 3 on it, and that was Councillor Trembath, myself and Councillor McKibbin. Now you have 5, and it's become a dog's breakfast as far as I'm concerned.
Which one's that?
Well, Oberon's Sports Working Party.
Sports facilities or the sports?
Comes up as working party, so I'd like to remove myself from that one.
What is the conflict?
We put a point 3 that is noted that Councillor McCarthy, G, we can put a G in 1, that Councillor McCarthy has removed himself as delegate to the sports facilities complex working party.
Someone else might want to take up that spot, so you've allocated it to 5.
Does anyone else want to? We've done this when we're in the committee of the whole. All right, we know there'll be 4 on it. Okay. Okay. Mover and seconder, happy with that?
Yes.
Yeah, it confirms it should be. And well, it's on an appointment for Councillor McCarthy, it's a resignation. Yeah, I think you can do that. Yeah. All right. Okay, any other discussion on this matter? If not, I put the motion as on the screen, all in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. And at 9.5, which is the sewage treatment plant project update. The recommendation is that council note the update on the construction of replacement Oberon sewage treatment plant. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor O'Connor, seconder. I'll second it. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the report. I understand that it's certain confidential information that can't be disclosed. I have a question on notice and request the report be brought back to council, the June council meeting. Meeting providing further details regarding the sewer treatment plant project, including confirmation of contractor, precision civil and pro engineering start date, because I'm not clear with that. Confirmation that a project manager has now been selected and planned and their start date on site. Confirm the contract price for stage 1 is 18.6 million, not 17.1 million as in the report, including project management fees of 500,000, with stage 2 costing 4.3 million as per budget. Provide councillors with final project cash flow budget, which budget actual report. At this stage, well, I think some of us have only got a scenario 4 budget. Further to item 9.5 in council's May 26 business papers, point 1, 1 and 1.3, and in the light of potential cost increases to the STP as a result of impacts of uranium oil prices.
Wait on.
Sorry.
Confidential.
Okay, confidential. I'll take that back. Further to item 9.5.
Yeah, you've moved the motion as it is. Are you proposing an amendment? Or what
No,
are you
I'm putting a question on notice for next meeting that these reports be brought back.
doing? Well, to the extent that that information can be provided in a non-confidential report, it can be provided.
That's
If it's
right.
confidential, it'll have to go to confidential. So we were verging on confidential.
I'll pass that over to you.
That's right. So you're happy to move this?
Move this, but there's a question on notice for next meeting.
And you'll respond to that through.
Yes, response to that.
And that can be brought back in confidential if required.
Some of your point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think was subject to a previous notice of motion, which didn't get up.
This is a question on notice. When you say it didn't get up, if you want to go into the
We'll discuss that outside.
I'd rather not go into the discussion.
No, we won't go into discussion now.
I'd rather that
Yeah, okay.
question on notice be.
Yeah, we'll look at the question. We'll look at the question on notice and get back to you. It's tabled.
Thank you.
Okay, who was the seconder now?
I'll second.
No, I was the seconder. Yeah, I'm happy with the report. Thank you. And I do support some of the issues, the reporting on some of the issues raised by Councillor. Not everyone else has had an opportunity to speak. Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, I'm happy to receive the STP update. However, given the scale of the project and the financial pressures councils are now facing, I'd appreciate clearer financial tracking in future reports. Specific financial tracking that can be publicly released, not confidential, so that the community can know what's going on. We're going to have huge issues down the track with this, and I'm really concerned. The financial assistance grants under the new budget have dropped from 0.51 down to 0.49. With that Commonwealth taxation revenue, LRCI funding uncertainty, and then disaster funding pressures going forward, and councils generally are facing increasing infrastructure and operational costs, and I've just got some massive concerns around this STP going forward. The community's asking questions, so if there's something that can be released down the track, probably every few months, something goes into a business paper that can give a breakdown that the community can read. Thank you.
Councillor Hayden. Others? Questions? I'd reply.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. There was one question on that motion, the request for information. Over the last 4 or 5 months, we've asked council staff when the project manager would be appointed. And it's very important on a project this size, we have an independent project manager, and the time was in a month's time, So I'd just like to know how that's tracking. We've got the project actually up and running. Have we got an independent project manager?
So through the chair, that the council resolved to go through a tender through the LGP process. And we have 4, we're going through that process now of recruiting.
That was the
The knowledge is
high,
closed.
that-
This will be up, you'll have it at June.
in June, we'll know.
Yes.
That's right,
Thank
yep. The tenders are being evaluated. Any other discussion? You've had the right of reply. I put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. We go to 9.6, Morrison Low Report Update, Draft Terms of Reference. Recommendations to Council: 1, note the information contribution provided by councils. 2, seek costing for the implementation of a review to the Morrison Low Report Commission in 2020, utilising additional information supplied, and provide an updated cost report to council prior to making a decision as to the review. Councillor Tucker, have you got an alternate? No, have you got a motion?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I have provided that to Sharon, and I'm aware that you have already seen my.
So I'll read it, that Council 1, note the information, the contribution provided by councils. 2, seek a costing for the implementation of review and update of the Morrison Low Report Commission in 2020, utilising additional information supplied, and provide an updated cost report to council prior to making a decision as to the review. 3, that any unspent funds at 30th June 2026 in local sealed road maintenance, local unsealed road maintenance and town streets maintenance be carried over and placed in a reserve to carry out the review and update of the Morrison Low Report if council decides to proceed. Is that your motion?
It's my vote.
You have a seconder? Councillor McCarthy, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Very minor change to number 2, where I've added the words and update. So instead of just having the word implementation of a review, that might give the impression that it's just about seeing where we're up to with the original report. I wanted to make it clear that it's actually asking for advice on any changes that might be appropriate given the very big changes in circumstances since it was first written. So that's the idea of adding those words and update. The more significant item is that I've added part 3. There was mention in this report about if council does decide to go ahead with a review, it's going to cost. Where's the money going to come from? So I am suggesting that if there are unspent funds from those roads maintenance budgets, that instead of them just falling away and going into consolidated revenue, that we carry them over so that we can use those funds instead of then having to eat into 26-27 funds if council does decide it wants to go ahead with the review. Based on the figures that I was given from the director a few weeks ago, it appears that there is likely to be a very substantial amount of unspent money, 30th of June. Based on expenditure in the first 3 quarters, if that same rate of expenditure continued, then we would have approximately $430,000 unspent at the end of the year. Noting that expenditure in the final quarter is likely to be a bit higher because we're out of construction season and doing more maintenance. But it would appear to me very unlikely that we're going to fully expend that maintenance money. So I've just thought that would be a useful thing to do, to put into reserve until we make that decision. If we go ahead, we've got some money available. If not, we can decide what else to do with that money. And that was all. Thank you.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yeah, I support the recommendation that Councillor Tucker's put forward. Because I want to see the first part of the Morrison Low report implemented in respect that part of that, and if I can just give an example with flexibility, it says there that the operator should be visited once a day by the foreman. Now, I highlighted to the general manager the other day where the grading section needed support with gravel. Now, if the foreman had been down there, he'd have been able to organise it. The grader operator had no alternative but to keep grading with the shower rain and mud coming. So these reports, but we've got to implement.
So, Councillor McCarthy, you'll note in my mayoral comments, I said Has council implemented the correct oversight and management structure for its road maintenance activities to achieve appropriate supervision and project management? That was one of my comebacks for the terms of reference. And I then said, are there any recommendations relating to improving productivity through scheduling work practices or avenues that can be identified? So I think to some degree, both those cover what you're saying.
Yep.
So I'll put those, that's,
Page 45, numbers 2 and 3.
Okay,
do you see under mayoral comments?
Yep.
Yep.
okay.
So I've gone quite a bit of depth in those things to try and pick, the areas that I know we have concerns with.
Well,
Yeah, but yes,
but the problem I have, we have concerns, we've had them for a few years, and it's not been addressed.
and
That's what I'm getting at, is that it's
Well,
been highlighted.
whether it's been addressed or not, one of the things we're asking is to have a look at that.
I realise that, but how many times do we keep reinventing the wheel?
Okay, understand. Any other discussion, councillor Trembath?
I can't support it, the new motion as standing point 3. I'd like to ask through here to the director. There's a number being quoted of 430,000 not being spent, and we're going to general revenue. Is that correct?
Through the chair, can you repeat the question, please?
I think what councillor Trembath is saying is if we haven't spent the money on this,
Sealed.
sealing, it said sealed maintenance, local unsealed road maintenance, does that go general revenue or does it go into roadworks for next year?
Through the chair, that may be more of a finance question. However, we may decide to potentially roll it over if it hasn't been spent. If, there's project plans, that's what I'm saying, we haven't expended it, which is normally comes back to council for decision at some point as well.
I thought it was going to be rolled over. Director, Corporate Services, what's your view?
Yeah, through the chair, I was just clarifying that the funding sources there are the own source revenue that you're referring to in the sealed maintenance components. Is that correct, councillor Tucker?
I'm referring to the figures you provided me a few weeks ago, just saying what the total budget is for each of those programs and how much was spent at 31st of March, extrapolated those expenditures through to end of June, and I came up with a difference of about 430, but noting that, as I said, I'm assuming the expenditure in Q4 is likely to be a bit higher.
Yeah.
Through the chair, can I just make one? With my understanding was that this financial year, we only had an allocation from own sources of a total of 460,000.
That's correct.
And the rest is from grant funding, which can only be used for roads. So I would be surprised if we had 230,000 left at end of financial year.
But I can think so. The original motion, as it stood, I thought was great, that we just go ahead, seek a clear costing and be practical and responsible that ensures council can make an informed decision before committing further resources. And I think that's actually what we've always talked about, that we needed to get an updated Morrison Lowe report. Throwing numbers around is confusing, so people think that possibly there is funds available for us to use if Morrison Lowe comes back and says this is how much it's going to cost, when in actual fact it doesn't sound like there is that money. And we're meant to be, fiscally responsible, and now we're trying to take money away from one of the major items that our community talk to us about.
Yes.
So through this, just to come back onto that component. So when we're talking about the own source, with this is our own source funding that's coming from rates revenue. You also have just approved an operational plan for next year, which is drawing down on a variety of reserves to the roads program that you're looking at. So at this point, there is no intention of reserving that into the end of the financial year, because we have assumed that this will be expended. But as I said, that expenditure is coming in towards the end of the financial year, and we wouldn't, there may be some unders, but we haven't anticipated to reserve them and draw it down at that level. Should there be that level, then we could absolutely do that when the operational plans come back in June.
Yes, councillor O'Connor.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm really pleased that's been resolved. I was hating to, I wasn't looking forward to the response from our community that we'd have some funds squirreled away that wouldn't be used on roads when it should have been. And I won't be supporting this amendment.
Before that, so I don't have a problem with supporting the addition of the words and updating it too. My view is that once we get the costing, then we have to make a decision as to where the funds come from. So my view is that I support the addition of the and update, but I don't support 3. Because I think when we get the cost back, then we'll have to find out where we get the funds from. Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, I'm happy to support the motion, however it is, and I would also be happy with councillor Tucker's point 3, because all he's trying to do is give a source of funding that may happen to be available down the track. So if there is something.
Yes.
So if there is an amount, dependent upon what the amount is, coming out of roads budgeting or own source roads, going into a roads report for Morrison Low makes total sense. So thank you.
Any other discussion? I would foreshadow going back to the original motion, original recommendation with the additions of the words and updating too. Right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I am really surprised by some of the comments, including your own, Mr Mayor. This is not taking money away. This is preserving money. What we've been told in the past is unspent money in those sorts of programs drop back into the budget as a whole and effectively get lost. That's I remember asking that question before. If it's clearly going to take into the new year before we get prices from Morrison Low, and if that comes back, and I don't want to put a figure on it, but if we are then faced with the decision of, well, we'd like to do it, but where are we going to get the money from? The only obvious place is the 26-27 roads maintenance budgets, and that's a much tougher call to take it out of whatever we might be planning to do next year. Whereas if we can carry forward, and it only says if there are any unspent funds, it doesn't put a figure on how much we have to carry forward. It just says if there are unspent funds at the end of the year, let's preserve them until we make that decision. If we don't go ahead with it, we can decide what else we might want to do with it. We might decide to add it to other road maintenance. We might use it for something totally different. But let's not prevent ourselves from going ahead with the review and update in 26-27 simply because we've lost the opportunity because the funds have been lost.
All right, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Councillor Tucker, McCarthy, Alevras and Hayden. Again? McKibbin, Lee, Graham, and Connor. Trembath. I'll now put the motion, that motion was lost. We go back to the recommendation. I put the motion as per the recommendation with the addition of the words in 2 of a review and update to the Morrison Low report. I have a seconder. Councillor Connor, thank you. I think we've talked about this enough.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? I put the motion as per the recommendation with the words review and update into. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 9.7, 3 policy 4109. Recommendation that council place the revised trees on council road reserves policy and public exhibition for a period of 28 days and invite submissions during that period. 2, if no submissions are received from the exhibition period, the policy we adopt is presented. 3, delegate the general manager the authority to making minor editorial changes as required. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Hayden, seconder, please. Councillor Alevras. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move this go on public exhibition. The way it's presented at the moment, it seems to be a bit too operationally narrow for the significance of some trees within the Oberon LGA. So I most certainly will be putting in submission with some relevant changes around species of trees, heritage trees, different subject matters around cultural trees, etc. So it needs to be far more broad than what has been presented, but thank you.
Councillor Alevras. Any other discussion? Councillor Tucker's next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe this came out of a decision, April 2025, that we review that policy. And the other part of the resolution was that we have discussions with Essential Energy about cooperative arrangements for trimming of street trees. So there were a couple of comments in the status report saying that that was going to happen, but I've never heard any outcomes or even if those discussions have happened. So that's just a question for the director of where are we up to with that part of the original resolution.
Through the chair, I believe there were updates provided at previous council meetings that we have had discussions with Essential Energy of trimming on street trees. They have previously advised us when they intended to undertake it and consulted with us, advising the extent of trimming required, upon which we sought advice from Alevras to see if the tree can be saved based on the extensive trimming or if it would need to be removed. So we've previously had discussions with Essential Energy and they normally consult with us when they do undertake tree trimming in relation to power lines.
Right, if I recall correctly, sorry to table on again, it said about trying to have arrangements which achieve the required clearance and maintain the attractive appearance of the tree. So is that part of the discussions that have happened?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I'll be putting in a submission on a couple of points in that policy, but yeah, I'm not happy with it as the draft stands.
I had a question, Technical Services Director. You've got a section there that landowners and residents are not permitted to undertake planning, pruning and tree removal on the road reserve. As a landholder that has a number of accesses onto the road reserve, state of wattles and other trees cause me problems with visibility. I know that the council's resources are very limited to be able to do work in that regard. If they were to do everyone's access areas. So I would ask that maybe that needs amending. Because I know there are most of my accesses, a lot of them are blocked by wattle trees and I cannot see oncoming traffic either way. It's a problem.
Through the chair, we have received advice from a consultant on this one as well, who advised that our policy should state that members of the public should not remove trees in the road reserve due to safety related issues around that activity. That's the advice I received. I cannot really provide a solution for that specific issue.
Noting the council resources, yes.
So the issue would be on that one.
I know council resources, but it is a problem for landholders, and I don't believe the council resources at the time, or the council has the time or the resources to do that on everyone's road access places. Noting that many property owners have many accesses.
Just through the chair, though, we still have our roads plan that looks at vegetation control and those types of things, and safety is one of those things that we have to look at. So I'm more than happy to note that and look at options in that regard, but also noting the director's comment that community go out in roads and just start knocking over trees has implications, and if there's an approval approach or something like that we can look at under the Roads Act is something we'll have to look at.
Okay, well, I'd ask that to be looked at as to whether we can do something there.
I'd reply if
Council-
everyone's finished.
Everyone else finished? Councillor Hayden?
Just wanted to be a little bit of the devil's advocate here. When we talk about the tree policy and we talk about owners' access, we've also got to maybe have a look in that tree policy about owners planting trees out onto the roadside.
All right,
Through the chair, I thought that was addressed to the policy, or are you saying it's not addressed sufficiently?
didn't policy.
It's in the policy, planting requires approval as well.
There's a lot of it that goes on.
It's in the policy.
Right. I'll put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We go to 10, councillor and delegates reports at none. 11, committee reports. 11.1, audit risk and improvement committee meeting, 25th of March 2026. Recommendation is the council receive and note the minutes of the audit risk and improvement committee held on 25th of March 2026. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Alevras, thank you. Second to Councillor Tucker. Councillor Alevras.
Just a few report, just a minute.
Thank you. Councillor Tucker.
Nothing to add, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, look, I'm always happy with the reports I get. I just find that this report's pretty light on. It'd be nice to have it expanded far more going forward with the financial issues that we're going to be having with the STP and so on. So I'd like to have a more expanded, broader report if we could going forward. Sorry.
So you're saying that the minutes attached don't provide enough information?
No. No, they don't.
You wanted to comment on that, Director of Technical Corporate Services?
Through the chair. The minutes are based on the format of the chair of that committee, based on their internal audit function and charter. That's the way that they've requested the minutes to flow to council. So, with the chair, that we could take that feedback.
I'd just
back
like
to
it
the
more
next Derek.
expanded as we're in
No doubt.
financial.
I'm sure your committee members could raise that as well in the next Derek.
That's all. Thank you.
Right. Right, at 5, put the motion. Oh, sorry. You, so it wasn't right.
Councillor Alevras,
Sorry.
I was just going to make a comment on that, but I won't because
All
we've
right.
finished the debate.
No, I can open it.
I was just going to say that I believe all the ARIC agendas are on the portal, and that would be a good place for councillors if they want more detail of what things were considered, to have a look at the agendas more so than the
Agenda and business papers.
Yeah.
So could someone send a link to that? Because I've not found them in there, sorry.
Through the chair, we can check all of them updated and make sure that there's no gaps in the portal. Yeah.
Councillor Everest, you got it? All right, put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. We go to 11.2, Community Service Committee, 16th of April 2026. The recommendation that council received and note the minutes of the Community Services Committee held on 16th of April 2026. Councillor Graham. A second to Councillor Hayden. Thank you, Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've got the minutes there, but I'll just explain the first point presentation from the Oberon Health Committee on the Healthcare Grab Bag Initiative. Some of you probably don't know what that is. It's a bag that's got all your health information in it, including your medications or whatever. So if you keel over and the ambulance comes, they know where it is and it's all filled out. They know who to contact, what's happened to you. And it's a really important thing that everybody in the community should have in their house. So we had that presentation, and we also had a presentation from Marathon Health about Strong Minds Tea, where there was quite a lot of what do you call it?
Mental health issues.
Yeah, but it was more counselling. A lot of counselling opportunities that they provide free. So that
Like Headspace. Like Headspace.
Yeah, like Headspace, but it's a different program. And the rest of it's in the minutes. Questions?
Thank you, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to second. Yes, it was a good meeting. Marathon Health was reasonably good. I still thought that there were some gaps that still aren't being achieved, but the grab bag initiative, that's an absolute brilliant one. And I hope all of basically everyone in the community get on board that and have it on your back door, because that's this day and age with an ageing community, and someone, might have keeled over in their house, at least they know they can grab that bag and take it with you with the ambulance. So no, nothing further. Thank you.
Yes. Any other comments? Motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. We go to item 12, reports for information. 4.1 is the monthly activity report, General Manager, May 2026. The recommendations report item 14.1 is received information. Motion, please. Councillor Hayden, second. Councillor Connor. Thanks, Councillor Hayden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, the General Manager and staff, for the report. I've got some questions around the Oberon Sports Complex. So, first question. Given the General Manager's report states the document currently sits with the club awaiting an outcome around the lease for the ground, has Council received any further response from the club or its legal advisors since that report was prepared?
No, I contacted the club. There was a meeting on the 22nd of April, as you'll be aware. There was the extraordinary meeting. At our extraordinary meeting following that, I rang the president. I emailed the president last week or this week, late last week, early this week, and asked where he was. He said the lawyer was still on leave. He meant to get back to us earlier. So we're still awaiting a response on both the lease and the management agreement from the president. We had come to, I thought, an agreed position on a number of things, and we set a table after the 22nd of April meeting. So we're waiting a response.
Okay, thank you. What maintenance and rectification works are currently being undertaken at the Oberon Sports Complex grounds?
Through the chair, we've engaged our own independent horticultural expert just to look at the short-term rectifications that are required before we complete the contract with our partners.
Okay, so what rectification works have already been completed?
So there's been some work previously done. However, we're still awaiting for some comment from our partners as to the concerns that have been raised prior to it.
So can you mention what those works were?
Just with there's some bare patches in the grounds that we want rectified. We wanted to see some rectification works in a number of just the sprinkler heads and those types of things where the pooling of water has led to the grass dying, and there's some other matters that we've raised with them that we're just waiting for their comment as to what that process looks like.
Okay, and what rectification works remain outstanding?
I think I've just answered that with my comments.
Okay, so, okay. What's the proposed implementation time frame referred to in the General Manager's report? So what is the expected deadline date that you have for the expected handover?
We are working on that, but we're also waiting on the lease agreement from our partners they're going to move into the facility.
Yeah, I'm talking about around the handover to club, because you did state previously in February that it would be the 31st of March, and then in April you stated that it would be the 30th of June. So have any of those dates, that like the June date, changed at all since till now?
Not at this point.
Okay, and when is the perimeter or required safety fencing expected to be erected around the fields? Is that going to be done?
There is no perimeter fencing around the fields. It's never was. What we're doing is putting fencing between the grandstand and the playing field that differentiate the spectator area from
same as like at the other ground.
At the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and it's been costed. It's being built as we speak.
Okay. And will there be protective padding or other protection mechanisms installed around the poles?
Not at this point, but it's going to be something that we need to work with our.
I'm just asking.
Clubs are. Yeah. Well, council doesn't run the football games either, so.
No.
It'll be, something that they need to look at, I would suspect, if it's not gonna be funded from.
And my last question on that is, will there be a spoon drain or spoon gutter proposed as part of the, any drainage rectification near the grandstand where there's all that grass square grates? Will that be, done as like a spoon drain?
Well, rectification works have been done in that space already. We've asked for further works to be undertaken in that locality.
So will that be around that section there?
Yeah, it's the section in front of the grandstand.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay. Councillor Cox.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'd just like to correct or share my view on what the general manager has advised us councillors regarding the implementation timeframe. I've always known it, the dates he's put forward, they were dates subject to work happening, discussions with the previous owner. So there was never a date hard and fast that it was going to be a handover. It was always on the basis that these things happen. And so again, the 30th of June timeline in my mind is subject to, as he said, he's now got a consultant just running through. So it's not a hard and fast. We shouldn't get back to our committee and say it was March, it's June. I've just got a couple of questions. Moving on. With regard to work, health, safety, risk activities, insurance documentation, is there a cost to us in that and why the council, or just, can I do one at a time or
Sure.
you do that?
Do it one at a time. There's absolutely a cost to buying insurance, yes.
So for council, is it normal for council to pay the insurance on that type of event?
On which type?
The Oberon Trail Run.
We have a provision within our insurances that allow us to do that, yes.
Without additional cost, I think. It's because it's an
Yeah,
over.
there is a number of them that we cover.
Is there? Okay,
Yes.
I didn't understand. And the incident on plant recovery following an incident with the council operator, was that significant or?
It's a incident report that we reaction and we go through that process. It was just, they're related to plant, so I thought I'd put it in there.
Thank you. Thank you. No further questions.
Sorry, Councillor Alevras.
Yeah, so just on that, it's a report, it states there's no injury and damage to assets. There were 3. What was damaged?
Sorry?
Oh, just an injury report. This is point 2. I'm assuming it states there on page 161, under work health and safety risk. It states in that table, no injury, damage to assets. So what was what assets were damaged? Yeah,
Is that the grade?
page 161. Well, work health and safety.
The line you.
That would have been those. We have minor things. We sometimes run into fences with our guys. We sometimes do these things that form part of an incident report.
Nothing major.
No, if it was major, I would have provided to you. Equally, that's the insurance capacity that we have in that regard. So,
So happy with that.
Okay, and if
sorry.
Councillor McCarthy.
Find it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the GM. You made reference to speak to the RMS regularly, once a week. Did they give you any update on the 8 Mile Swamp Creek activity?
Through the chair, I speak to the RMS about the current situation on the Great Western Highway once a week.
Okay.
I spoke to the director of the regional director, who I forwarded the concerns that were raised. I know that staff are also working on a program now, so leading into June 30,
Okay.
that there's going to do substantial amounts of work on O'Connell Road.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just one other thing to ask about the integrated planning and reporting documents. I know it says in there staff have initiated recommendations from the May extraordinary meeting relating to endorsed community participation plan. Is this intended to refer to the council's community engagement policy 1120 as referred to, or do we have a separate community participation plan?
We have the community participation plan through the chair that you endorse each year to go through the IPR processes.
So the community engagement policy.
Correct, and yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Because the wording had me thinking we had.
Okay,
Thank you.
put the motion as per the recommendation, all in favour? Carried unanimously. We go to 12.2, monthly activity report, planning and development, May 2026. The recommendations report item 12.2 is received as information on the motion. Thank you, Councillor Hayden. Councillor Graham, thank you. Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, happy to move the report. I've seen that the majority of the exhibitions on Have Your Say page are up there currently. Grading there that I need to pick up, and that's just a good report. One thing, it doesn't really matter. It's all good. Thank you. Nothing further.
Councillor Graham. Confused. So, Director, applications lodged March. Some of them have been approved, some of them haven't. Some were extended out to 2 months. Is that right?
Through the chair, that's correct. Some have indicated they've been referred to different agencies. So the one there, but perhaps the clock should have been stopped. Others are still being considered. But the one that's the mod that you're probably referring to will be come to June council meeting. It's taking a bit longer.
Right. Any other discussion? If not, I put the motion. First for the recommendation in favour, carried unanimously. We go to 12.3. Monthly activity report, technical services, May 2026. The recommendation of 44.3 is received information of a motion. Councillor Hayden, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor Hayden.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you the report and just try and get through the correct page. I did note that in the report, just a couple of minor spelling issues on Clancy Motors. Remove the E because it's only CY. The unsealed road maintenance, I've had some feedback that out on the Campbell's River Road, it's starting to break away significantly where trucks have been pulling up on the White Springs side of the repairs. And I did have a query as to when it's proposed that line marking may be occurring because of the foggy conditions we're currently getting. When's that expected to occur?
So I think you're talking about the sealed road.
The new repairs,
Yeah. So that's number one. So question is, when's the line marking occurring, and what did you talk about the soft edges? Did you?
Where the repairs have been done, where the ice impeded the road, where it had been repaired, some of that is already breaking away on the edges and into the centre of the road on the White Springs side.
Through the chair, we are aware that some of the new seal has failed.
Yeah.
It failed pretty quickly after the work was undertaken due to a combination of issues. Part of that we've taken up with heavy vehicle owners that hadn't abided by speed regulations we put up to protect the seal. That was one issue. Part of that we've taken up with the sealing contractor. So the sealing work will be done again when the conditions are right, which is not going to be this construction period anymore. So that will be undertaken again. We're quite aware of it. That will also mean that specific part. So we've done kind of 3 parts, 2 rehabs, heavy patches, reseals, and a seal in between those. The seal in between has failed, which is the middle part, which we're not going to line mark due to the upcoming works again. However, the other sections we will line mark. I'm just not sure about the time frame on that, so I'll get back to you. We're aware of coming into that season, so I'll provide further updates.
So if it's feasible at all, I really do think that we either need to put out some extra.
Through the chair, from memory, I believe the works manager advised that we're only going to do single line marking on that what's broken apart, not double to set. Just, but I'll
Yeah.
confirm, I guess.
just so that there's something for people to see, some more reflectors, because it's quite dangerous when it's foggy.
Or stick and stone, like we had a solution,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to recall.
Yeah, no, that's all right. And I did note here under vegetation management that there was tree removal works were undertaken on Old Shooters Hill Road. Nothing's been done out there. And I'm just wondering if this might be an old portion in the report.
Through the chair, that potentially could have been a confusion. I've seen the mulching head on Shooters Hill between the turn off to Mountain Long and Forest Retreat. So there could have been a
Yeah,
confusion in the information, but I'm happy to.
because Old Shooters Hill Road is that section.
I know.
Yeah, okay, and, yeah, that's it, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, just a couple of points to Dr. Lena. With regard to work on Shooters Hill Road, that was actually on Foliage Creek Road. You removed a very, very dangerous tree, and I was going to thank you for that because it was a very quick response and it was an excellent job. With regard to the vegetation management on Searles Creek, again, it's a very excellent job, but it's quite an aggressive way to do it, the nature of the job. But we have discussed it before. It comes at quite an expense. It's a wonderful job, don't get me wrong, but the job's only half done. So say, for instance, it costs $90. For another $5 by spraying it, it's done. And I'd like, if possible, a report to come back at some stage to say, when we're doing this vegetation management, this is what we plan to do. And in terms of timing of spray and the type of spray, because it's such a fantastic job, let's not try to save $5 when we can finish it and not have to go back.
If I could make a comment, indeed, it may not be spraying, it may have to be basil bark. I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, so I think, and I think director, but I think you are looking into what we can do to prevent the regrowth in areas where we are cleared with the multi-head and everything, so we don't have them coming back twice as thickly. So I think the director's certainly aware of it, and I think you've been investigating it, haven't you?
That's correct.
So if you could maybe, if you've got any news, maybe you could put it in your report, which would be helpful.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this report? Not, I put the motion, all in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We go to 4.4, which is monthly report, corporate services, May 2026. The recommendations report item 12.4 is received information. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Hayden, Councillor O'Connor. Thank you, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'd like to thank Corporate Services Director and staff for the report. A couple of questions over a few issues in here. Under the planning portal and the DA tracker, how far is that off being implemented into the website now?
Through the chair, so the keys that link the two system being provided, the system is now in full test mode, so it's not too far away for being live for the public to interact and look through the DA. So the screenshots that I've put there are historical data, but just to give you an idea of what that would look like. So
And another rough question. I've been looking at some of the costings for planning portals and DA trackers. What's been the costing, if you can explain to council, if we can't in confidential, it's fine, but what has been the costing around getting this this portal DA tracker on our site?
through the chair, the DA tracker is part of our community portal on our EMS. So that portal also will soon have the functionality for people to engage with rates, inquiries. There's quite a few things through that community events, CRM interactions that the community can interact with council. So it's hard to apportion out a cost just for the DA tracker, but it's all captured within our IT overall budget and one of the many of the modules that we use to run the organisation.
So at some point, can there be some breakdowns of these costs so that councillors are aware of that overall? Because there are quite significant costs when it comes to some of these. In the financial overheads review completed, I note in there it says that the overheads review has been completed on an overheads calculation and provided adjustment in QBR S3 and the operational plan. Has that been updated into the operational plan documents currently on public exhibition?
Through the chair, yes, both that overhead portion is picked up in both of those documents.
Okay, and in relation to, okay, so that's picked up in that one. The Space to Co online booking system that's being set up for the online bookings of councils, library, Black Springs Hall and other services. Have you had any further costings on what the licensing fees for that is going to cost council overall? Yeah.
Through the chair, we have. It's obviously commercial in confidence, so but it's the financial model for that is, you know, for a council of our size, the most adequate. It's done under, you know, quite a small licensing fee and a incremental booking model that works well for a council that generally doesn't have huge amounts of venue bookings at the moment.
So down the track, councillors will get costings of all these little additional things that all add up to big dollars down the track. So yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Nothing further.
Councillor, yeah, okay, Connor, yes.
No further question.
Like Councillor McCarthy, you go first.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, as the director, when are we getting a report on the cost of implementing that overdue rate? We were going to get a report back on how much it costs us to implement that collection.
Yeah, through the chair, we provided a short update in the status report, but there's the last contract is settling, so we have that ready to go for June. The full costings will come back for June.
Okay, thanks. And when do we get the library 2 windows repaired and that panel outside is smashed? It looks bad for us.
Yes.
Can't we get it repaired and take it out of the retention money from the builder?
Through the chair, that's we have repaired that out of our own budget once already, and that is the actions we're taking with the builder. We check in with the former project manager and the builder to get that done, and that's the leverage that we're using both on the windows and that side panel. So
there's got to be something wrong with the glass breaks twice, though, isn't it? Like,
Latent defect.
hey,
A latent defect, a design deficiency or something.
thank you.
Could I just ask the director a couple of things? The attendance has filled the forest today. I note you raised under the UWH closure impact that there's been a slight increase in patronage accommodation venues. What about attendance at, say, Field of Forest events today?
Through the chair, the Field of Forest Festival was well attended once again. One of the things that we obviously do during that time is a number of people come to and enjoy the activities in the forest, particularly foraging and the like. So we do try to put some education and some components around it to try and drive some additional value add to those that are coming in. So with the closure of the Great Western Highway, there was definitely a small impact, but that month continues to be very strong for the region in the tourism space.
Good. And the other question is, we talked about doing a table of costings and revenue generated by each area of council. That's still being worked on, isn't it?
So could you repeat that question?
Where we have a breakdown of each particular area of council, what it's costing us to run and what our revenue from those particular areas is.
Through the chair, yes, that was a conversation we've been having from our strategic IP and our workshops, and we're definitely working on that formatting that some of our neighbouring councils.
So when would we likely to receive that?
That information is not too far away. We have that, so I'd be waiting for the appropriate forum to bring it back to council, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so it's ready or it's nearly ready?
Through the chair, we have that information ready.
Right. Any other discussion? Not, I put the motion for the recommendation. All in favour? Vote unanimously. We go to 12.5 investments, April 2026. The recommendation report item 12.5 is received information from a motion. Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Seconder, Councillor Alevras. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Looking to the Director of Corporate Services, Mr Report. I know the balance of cash on deposit and the savings accounts gone down by 3 million. The majority of that would be the sewer treatment plant.
Through the chair, that's correct. That's been checked on the STP.
And then with the term deposits, just running through the term deposits, just have we got a strategy in regard to how we invest that in terms of tier 1, 2 and 3? I just saw that there's the tier 1 is Commonwealth ANZ Westpac NAB. There's very little in the tier 1, and whether you've got a strategy how you invest. I know that investing outside tier 1 and 2 is a higher return, but there's also more risk. So whether or not you have a strategy in it.
Through the chair, we council has an investment policy which guides the risk appetite that we have in each of those categories, and we work with our term deposit provider so they're aware of those risks, and that investment policy is not too far away, coming back to the council to review and update again. Yeah, thank you.
I can make a quick comment on that. So we do have an investment policy. Several years ago, we went quite a bit more conservative because we were worried about risk. So there were more going into a tier 1 banks with, rated certain ratings. We then released that a bit at a further council meeting 2 years ago, 1 year ago.
Just about 2 years
ago. So we released it a bit back. And I think I pushed originally for more conservative and we came back a bit. So we're always reviewing that in light of economic circumstances and risk. So we're open to review that again. As you say, obviously the higher up the chain you go with your security, the lower the returns. So there's a balancing act.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on this? Not, I put the motion. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Yep. 12.6 grants update 2026. The recommendations of report item 12.6 was received as information. Motion, please, Councillor Hayden. Put your hand up, Councillor Alevras. I wasn't sure you were here. Well, you were spotting a fly. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I'm happy to move that report. It's always disappointing having a look at that and seeing how many grants were unsuccessful. Only going through the budget the other night when that was released, we're not going to have that much money to play with going forward either, with bags being reduced and basically only a huge reduction of around 4.9 billion to local government across the board. So it's going to be quite significant.
Any other discussion? Put the motion. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Right, we go to 12.7 status of council resolutions update May 2026. The recommendation report item 12.7 is received as information. Motion, please, Councillor Hayden. Councillor Alevras, thanks.
Yes, just a couple of questions on this status report. The if we're getting to the right page, question on 250819, 256 and 284, which is around the it's meant to be around the O'Connell link there for that there it is. No, it's not. Sorry, I've got the, oh, there it is. It's 258 of 284, 250819, O'Connell Road Shared Pathway Project Update and Funding Options. I note in there's an updated quote. 14th of the 4th is the last input there. I'm just wondering whether this, it does note bring a report back to council. I'm just wondering whether this should come back to council and we have some conversations. I do note the Clr Trembath earlier, there was some issues around this. If the state isn't going to put up a bridge, then we're going to end up with a footpath to nowhere. So whether there's options that we can redivert the money over active transport projects elsewhere, or what can happen.
So through the chair, we absolutely looked at those options to see whether they can be rediverted. It's very clear to us that it can't
be.
We are working with, and as we said, we've got updated quotes. We're working with Transport for New South Wales to try and get this program implemented in its full length. And that comes with backwards and forwards with transport, given that they put conditions on these types of things that are beyond what we originally thought. The reason why we haven't brought it back at this point in time is because we're awaiting transport's direction in relation to additional funds, because we have to, in fact, build a crossing on Beaconsfield Road to help support that footpath. And also we're indicating that we are looking so as to diminish the conversation about a footpath to nowhere, some connection with Hassel Park at this point in time. So looking at an additional design for an underpass at the bridge to in fact connect O'Connell with Hassel Park without needing to
crossing the road.
Without crossing the road. So,
except that you cross up further.
Well, you cross Beaconsfield, but that's how we're trying to work at this point.
Is there because we've already got some of this money, haven't we?
We do, yeah.
When's the deed?
There is no deed. We'd love to see it then.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But this is the one that's why we're working with transport. The mayor and myself met with the Minister for Transport December of last year, and she was very keen to see us work collaboratively to try and see this project to fruition. Because I think there is a government awareness of the need for something that's beyond a trafficable bridge across a fish river.
Yeah, okay. All right, and then I'll go to some commentary I got on 260217, page 265 at the top regarding the tree removal in Oberon Street. Some community members had expressed that it looks good and much better without the tree. It's also improved pedestrian safety as it's not overshadowing, and some community members have asked why we don't remove the other 3 trees.
Through the chair, I've had probably a similar conversation with one person. I won't say it was many. It was one person suggesting that it was very good that we removed it and not to put a new one in. However, council's resolution is to put a new tree.
I have also myself, just when you're looking away from the driver's perspective, driving up there late afternoon, it is much clearer to see anyone walking around there because there's not the tree and the post, it's just gone. Also, there were some queries if we can cut some of the gardens back a bit more, but anyway. And the last one, 260317. I don't know, when am I? 14.1. Anyway, it was just, there it is, it was the same question as councillor McCarthy had asked earlier. When a full report was being provided, because the update here says the 14th of the 4th regarding the land sales. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Right, I put the motion as per the recommendation. All in favour? Going down. We have one item of business, 14.1, Elevate Destination Marketing Development Partnership Proposal. Sorry, there's no urgent business. Under closed session confidential reports, there's one item, 14.1, Elevate Destination Marketing Development Partnership Proposal. In accordance with Local Act, Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulations, the opinion of the General Manager, that item 14.1 is considered by the General Manager to be of a kind as referred to in section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a part of the meeting closed to the media and the public. I therefore have someone move us into confidential. Clr Hayden, second, Councillor Alevras. All in favour? We can cease the recording, please.